Before we get into the programme, unfortunately for myself, a little bit of bad news came in a few hours ago. I was supposed to, as I mentioned, open the show with Mr. Morten Langeland, a wonderful Norwegian poet, but Morten missed his flight. You say that. It left me in a bit of a conundrum, because if I don't get the chance to perform and shine and get all the attention, why would I put the event on? So I thought very hard about cancelling it, but a lot of people had travelled. In a moment of Christian self-reflection, I realised, actually, I'll take a night to celebrate others instead. And so, instead of presenting something creative, I would just do what I know everyone at poetry readings loves, and that's maybe take 5 to 7 to 8 minutes to read everyone's bios. Léonce Loupet, poet and artist, was born in the 19th century and has maintained life beyond the normal span of human existence through sheer decency and a magical head of hair and drinking blood. Léonce eats language as you and I would eat European food, like French onion soup, or schnitzel, or bow pasta. Doug Jones is a doctor, an actual doctor. So why is he here? Dr. Jones offers hope that maybe poetry is not pointless, because if a doctor is doing it, well. I want to personally thank Dr. Jones for his brilliant, underappreciated poetics and for his generous, under-the-counter table prescriptions. Lotte Ellis is more letters than you, and therefore perhaps better than you, although she doesn't see things that way. Lotte, who is a source of light, has been places, lived in houses on desolate coastlines, and has taken on board your helpful, if unsolicited, advice. She knows what it's like to have near brain damage from pubescent proliferations of Lambrini and a perpetual, if not pretentious, heartbreak at the state of the world. Sophie Caroline Wagner is so personally poetic that she's currently a Mecca librarian in Vienna. She understands things and looks, like a Brad Pitt headshot, as though those things she understands are things you will never understand. In Vienna, Sophie is simply known as the Soph, but that is translated from a Viennese dialect because she is loved and feared in equal measure. Andere Lucet was born, or rather created, in the originary moment of the Northern Earth's beginning. Obviously mythological, Andre is actually the semi-evil son or daughter of Loki and normally haunts the northernmost north forests of Norway, calling on his Sami ancestors to bring him more breakfast cereal when he runs out. Esteban Cruz is not someone to mess with, poetry-wise. Estebo is actually an entire autonomous community in Spain. He is the reputed burial place of the biblical apostle St. James, and his western cliffs were considered by the Romans to be the end of the known world. Sophie Essex is not only a wonderful poet, but also the reincarnated spirit of Pier Paolo Pasolini. This is why her press is called Salò, and Sophie often rents a stately home in central Italy to put dozens of teenagers through horrific sexual ordeals. Julia Webb is a poet who will give you a ticket to a poetry show, and you'll go, and you'll think that ticket is valid, but it has expired. Because Julia is doing poetry for tomorrow, which you ain't at yet, and arguably, given what you're like, you'll never be at. Christianis Zelgis last night drank a whole litre of water. Then I kissed his feet, then he washed my hair. He has done other things. Annika Thenker likes mollusks more than people. Even when the people are mollusks, and the mollusks are people, like in Atlantis, or in films like The Little Mermaid, who Anna wouldn't have coffee with even if she lived in Norwich, because Ariel, there's poems to be written, and Anna don't have time for fictional fishwomen because she's the latest glam mollusks like gastropods or squids or whatever, but by Valvia and Chitons, because she is that way. Open your eyes and witness Anna. Morton Langeland is a bastard who misses international flight. And when he texts you to tell you this, you are not surprised. Coco Fett is a poet by choice and Burmese by chance. In fact, Coco is Finnish like a sauna or a moomin. He is a full-time Finn and a part-time cannibal. He not only knows his way around a poem, but also around a guillotine choke. So if you try to tackle him lazily, as Chris Gribble did once, expect to wake up looking at the ceiling unconscious. Ben Bartu is naturally someone to go to if you need help. Ben will help you with climbing, dancing, non-dodgy massage, kayaking, archery, and lots of other activities which arise from writing poems about things everyone cares about, because this is Ben we're talking about in it. Helen Ivory is also definitely someone to go to if you need help. Helen will blurb your new book even before you ask her to do so, and I don't intend to do so because she won't like my poems because they are bad. Inga Bazan is lovely, but also a former murderer, which will surprise none of you, but not of people, of words, because Inga actually didn't kill anyone. That's just a metaphor for being successful at poetry. Matthew Gregory is someone who you all know well as the face of a new generation of vigilantes, but that's not it. He also writes poems, as well as keeping the streets of Cromer, West Runton and Sheringham safe. But not Great Yarmouth, it's too much even for Matthew. John Mattia is one of the calmest poets you will ever swim on. I met him personally, not online, but emerging, rippling, glistening from the waters of Lake Bled, as though he was Daniel Craig in Bond, with his muscles gleaming, a fish between his teeth, and a fountain pen in his hand, jotting down his latest idea for a poem, actually on the fish. Once he had released his bite and this poem, he told me later, mouth then full of that same fish, now food, not even cooked, it led to his latest book. Michelle Steinbeck is wonderful in restaurants. I've invited the Swift author to spend 5 days and 4 nights in London, and so here we are. I spot her wearing a black leather jacket and tartan trousers standing between 2 Christmas trees. I warm my face up to smile so I can give a positive first impression, but not appear false. I don't want her to take one look at me and think, I see a few brooding self-conscious days before me. Alison Graham is also good in restaurants, but is too dignified for her own good. But Alison's not going to change now, so all you haters can suck it, because Alison is here to show you that it doesn't matter what anyone says, Alison brings her game to poetry. George Surtees, who is a living legend, who has seen and done more than the room combined, and it really makes you wonder how persuasive I am that he's actually here. Tiffany Atkinson is a magician and can do tricks for you, and those tricks are called poems, if you like that sort of thing. Tiffany, we love it when you sing. Sing more, please. Tiffany is a horse whisperer, a ringleader, a peacemonger, a flag bearer, a throat singer, a sweet shop, a carrot in the teeth, a nice person, and someone I would let babysit my pets. Please, a round of applause for the first pair, Sophie Karen Wagner and Lotta Ellis.